Welcome to episode number 123 of the Marine Layer podcast. We have our two Mariners storylines. JP Crawford hits the IL, and the Mariners pitching staff has taken a great turn the last couple of weeks. We'll go down on the farm and pick out our standout Mariners minor leaguer of the week. We have our Russell Wilson umpire of the week, and we'll close out the show with Speak Your Mind.
Guys, make sure you're not missing any of our stuff. And if you want to be sure to stay on top of all of it, there's a few things you can do. If you're listening, make sure to download these episodes. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. You can leave a written review if you want to. You're doing us a big favor if you do. If you're watching on YouTube, I know you see that red subscribe button. Just click it, hit subscribe, like and comment on the video as well. And then check us out all across social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube Shorts at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling. And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network, recording here Thursday afternoon, April 25th, and the Demons in Arlington have been exercised. I thought I might never see another win in Texas ever again. Ever. Until this week.
Well, considering they lost 8 in a row last year there, which carried into this series. But hey.
8 mostly uncompetitive games.
Man, that last weekend. Like, I know they lost other games down in Texas last year, but I cannot get that final series in Texas out of my head, where it was just a pummeling with the Rangers scoring run after run after run after run. I'm glad that's over for now.
Yeah. And, you know, the best thing about this series is I don't like the Mariners didn't play amazing. They played good enough. They hit home runs in opportune times. Twice they hit two-run home runs in a game, and that was it. That's what they needed on Tuesday's game, and then on today's game on Thursday. 2 pairs of 2-run home runs was enough to get the job done. What do we keep saying? You got to hit the ball over the fence, and you got to pitch well. And the Mariners did that in each of those 2 games. In the game they didn't do that, they lost. I was kind of disappointed. We'll talk about the pitching staff on our second storyline, but I was a little disappointed in Bryce Miller's performance. I wanted to see, like, that was the last demon it felt like he needed to exercise, besides almost the large sample of pitching this season and pitching through a heavy workload this season. I wanted to see him go face the Texas Rangers and pitch well. Unfortunately, that wasn't really the case. He was off, didn't have his best stuff, didn't have his best control, and ended up having a pretty poor outing after just 4 innings on Wednesday. But outside of that, man, how about these pitchers who are like that were able to go in there in Texas and do what they needed to do?
And Luis certainly did not have his best stuff on Thursday. The fact he gave them 6-2 is a lot. Through 4 innings, it didn't look like he was even going to get through 5. And they instead gave him 6 innings of 2-run ball. Very much kept him in the game. The bullpen takes care of the rest. So if that's what Bryce Miller didn't have his best outing, but if that's what Luis Castillo's doing when he is off, he's not that far off track from getting on. And this rotation we've seen has taken massive steps forward over the last couple of weeks, which we'll talk about, and they can still get better.
Didn't hear from Corey or Marcus all series either.
That was nice. I'm also so glad that series in Texas is over, not just because the Rangers hit the ball like crazy in that ballpark. I hate that camera angle so much in Texas. I cannot bear to look at it. It is so miserable. Like it looks like you're like watching from a bird's eye view zoomed out. Like why don't the Rangers give other teams the capacity to zoom in like a normal broadcast?
Okay, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I don't hate that camera angle that much. I kind of like it right behind the pitcher. Is that unpopular?
No, I hate it. I've seen a lot of people talk that they hate that camera
I've seen that too.
angle.
But I don't know if that's that big a deal to me. It might look like every fly ball people hit, and the sound it makes ricocheting around that ballpark makes a lot of hits sound like home runs, even though they're not. You could probably nitpick that. The camera angle, though, like, I like it right behind the player, right behind the pitcher.
Okay, here's the only thing. When the World Series was there, Fox didn't have that problem with the camera angle. They had the normal one. So did Fox get special treatment because it's the World Series? If the answer is yes, that means there is a capability to just have the normal angle. I don't know. I'm nitpicking about something the same way we spent the first 10 minutes of Wednesday's show talking about roofs, but I know I'm not alone on this take. I do not like the zoomed out camera angle at all. Like,
there has to be a worse one. Is there a worse one?
I don't think so.
Man, wasn't it when we were like in the mid 2000s? Wasn't the Orioles one like on the left side of the pitcher? Do I have that right at Camden? Am I thinking of the right one? There was one ballpark where it was on the left side.
Yeah, you might be right, but I guess from my memory, I can't recall. I can recall having a look at this Texas angle way too often. I drop a comment, whether you feel one way or the other. If you're watching on YouTube, which you should be, drop a comment if you like the camera angle. If you don't like the camera angle, genuinely, we are interested to hear. I know that people have talked about they don't like it.
I will say the only way I'd say you get a true behind the pitcher angles like that, you'd have to be that high so you can see everything.
I feel like you can see everything perfectly well with the normal ones.
Well, you can, but it's a little deceiving when it comes to looking at the movement horizontally of especially of like a right-handed slider. You don't get like a true visual of a Matt Brash slider. Like a Matt Brash slider looks better on that Texas angle than it would on a T-Mobile Park angle, just because of where the camera is positioned.
Maybe that's true, but that's one minor thing. For the most part, it is much more visually appealing, I think, when it's more zoomed in, like the Seattle angle or pretty much any other angle. So I don't know. That's my take that we probably wasted too much time on and nobody really cares about, but I still have the feeling anyway.
Let's get to our Mariners storylines. On the negative front, we'll start off with J.P. Crawford hitting the injured list today on Thursday, yesterday on Thursday when you'll be listening to this. So he has a grade 1 oblique strain. He will be out a few weeks. We don't know exactly how long. Obliques are not easy injuries to get over. It can take a while to come back. It can nag throughout the season, depending on who you are. And this sucks. This is tough in a lot of ways for the Mariners.
You know, for as well as they've started to play, they've had that injury bug start to build up. Here are the guys that are not playing right now for the Mariners: Matt Brash, Gregory Santos, Brian Wu, Dom Canzone, and now J.P. Crawford. So credit to the Mariners for playing the way they've played recently, but having all these guys now missing time is not good. I know Brash is getting close. I know Wu's getting close. Those are 5 pretty key guys of your team that now are on the shelf.
I'm just thinking about how this affects the lineup. Like, think about how your lineup is now with JP out. So, like, Julio's turned it around a little bit, but in terms of the other core guys that you have to rely upon now, like, so first of all, Cal just had a broken tooth this week, had it removed, and is playing through an excruciating amount of pain to get in the lineup and actually play this week. So you have that. Then you have Ty France, who until Thursday hasn't hit for really any power. He's been hitting the ball hard, but has not been elevating it until he finally hit his first home run of the season on Thursday. You have Mitch Garver, who's continuing to struggle. And then over the last week, Mitch Haniger, who they slid up in the cleanup spot today with JP out, has a WRC plus of -13 the last week. So I'm looking at this lineup without JP Crawford, who had struggled this year. But let's remember, guys, JP Crawford had the best WRC plus on the team last year and led the American League in walks. You're taking that out of the leadoff spot, and it hurts the rest of the lineup by not having JP up there, even if he's not at full strength, because, you know, odds are JP was going to turn it around. And now you won't have that until they'll be lucky if he's back by June 1st, I would say. So we'll see.
He was starting to turn it around. Last 7 games, he was hitting 286. OPS was close to 800. So last 7 games, you started to see him figure some stuff out. Unfortunately, this injury comes at a very inopportune time when the Mariners desperately need him, and right when he was starting to figure some things out. Yeah, it hasn't been the greatest first month of the year for J.P. Crawford. He's barely slugging 300. But I seem to recall it was about June of last year when he started to really take off. He also didn't miss any time by June of last year. He had all those at-bats accumulate before finally something shifted. Now he's going to miss a few weeks, and that doesn't help the team. Not only does it change the top of the lineup, but you're missing, like you said, TJ, arguably your most important player. Julio might be your best player, especially when you look at last year. I think JP was the most important player, the table setter, top of the lineup, relied upon even when the rest of the offense was struggling a lot of last year. He was Mr. Dependable. Now he's not going to be playing for 3-4-ish weeks.
Should we bring out some Moneyball quotes? If we're going to recreate him in the aggregate, should we recreate JP Crawford in the aggregate? Okay, Lyle, we're not going to have Crawford. The 380 on base percentage, forget about it. We won't be able to replace it with one player, but man, we can piece that together. They're actually, I don't think, can piece that together on this 26-man roster right now. I'm actually kind of curious. I'm going to let you respond here in a second, but I'm curious. So I was thinking about this. So last year, you had a 380 on base, batting out of the leadoff spot. So that's gone now. I'm trying to think of other guys who could replicate on this roster who could have a 380 on base percentage. There's really only one, right? It's only Julio. But the thing is, we wanted Julio to drive in the 380 on base guy, not for Julio having to supply the 380 on base himself, right? That makes sense. Garver had a 370 last year, but I think you and I watching him this year know he's not having a 370 on base again. I'd be shocked.
You're making that conclusion on April 25th?
370 on base. Well, that was a career high, by the way, of Mitch Garver's last year.
So maybe it's I'm
going to say odds are he's not going to have a career high on base percentage this year. It could get up there, but it won't be 370. And that's the closest I could imagine to somebody replicating what JP does on the base paths, right? So that's how I'm sitting here and thinking why this is such a tough conundrum, because it's not something you can just replace.
Leo Rivas is going to serve as a bench guy, and he'll get some starts every now and then. But yeah, he is not a JP Crawford replacement. For those who don't know, Leo Rivas is who the Mariners called up to replace Crawford while he's on the IL. Plays shortstop, came up for most of his young career in the Reds organization. He never got to the big leagues. After 2022, he elected free agency, signed with the Mariners, spent 2023 in Arkansas. Actually got off to a really good start this year in Tacoma. He was OPSing well over 800. He was hitting over 300 in about an 18-game sample. And now he's called up. He is not going to replace JP Crawford, but you hope you can just get something out of the guy. And the biggest thing there is he does play shortstop. That's why I think the Mariners went with him, not Samad Taylor, not Sam Haggerty, not Michael Chavis, who's been hitting really well in Tacoma. They said, we need a shortstop, and that's what Rivas is.
Because Demo's now going to pick up most of the time at shortstop. Mm-hmm. So, and he's the only other guy on this roster who can play shortstop. The bat is what worries me. It worries me so much because we got like a very brief time where the Mariners lineup was at full strength. I don't know exactly when this Mariners lineup is going to be back at full strength, because the big difference in what we keyed on in the preseason of how this team could be different is the fact the lineup would be better than next season while the pitching staff remains excellent. So at best case scenario, the Mariners lineup is back at full strength in a month, but there's a lot of time between now and then. Other things can happen. Unfortunately, injuries do suck, but they do happen. As you mentioned, it's piled up here in this lineup. You cross your fingers and hope nothing happens between now and June 1st and they can be healthy until then. Because otherwise, it's just going to be hard for them to unlock their potential with so many of these guys missing all this time and unable to get into a groove.
Puts a lot of pressure on that rotation, too, if the offense is not hitting. So they're going to have to find ways to get runs across.
And as if there isn't enough pressure on Julio already. Right. Man, like... We kept put a little bit of pressure on him, and here it's like when he's struggling early, it's like, you're Julio Rodriguez. Of course, your expectations are way higher than everyone else's. So we'll hold you to those expectations when you're not playing well. We'll say, hey, listen, you're not playing well. And now he has to play even better. That MVP season we're waiting to unlock with Julio, it's more important now than ever that he does that. Because if he can't, it's going to be really hard for this team to consistently score runs.
And all more reason they really need some of these other guys to step up. Ty France hitting his first home run on Thursday. Awesome to see. More of that. I know he's been unlucky, and we talked about that on a recent show, that he has hit the ball hard, launch angles right. He just needs to elevate more. Hopefully we're starting to see those underlying numbers turn into results, and Ty France starts to take off because they need him. Mitch Garver, they desperately need him to get going. What did Jason Churchill say? What did I say in the offseason? This could be the most important bat not named Julio. But for Garver to do that, he has to play like the Mitch Garver that the Mariners signed him to be, not the guy he's at right now, where his OPS is sitting in the 500s. So he needs to get going. Mitch Haniger, I know he's had a tough week. He's got to turn it around. There is a lot of support that has to be had for Julio Rodriguez, especially with JP Crawford out, for the Mariners to keep playing well. Guys are going to have to start hitting better.
Do we think there's any chance any other infielders in the minors come up? Like, I don't really think so. Like, I don't know if Bliss would come up between now and and June 1st when JP comes back. Because
again, and we talked about Bliss too. I think with him, he cannot be the product of necessity and desperation. You need to let Ryan Bliss develop so he can be the player he's capable of being when he's fully ready. To answer your question, we talked about this over text a little bit recently. I know he's not currently on the 40-man roster. My guess is if we see another infielder that's not one of the utility guys in Haggerty or Samad Taylor, it'd be Michael Chavis, because he has big league time. He's had some big league success in the past, and he's really crushed the ball in Tacoma so far. That feels like somebody that could be an option. I know third base is solidified right now with the platoon, but Chavis can play second. I'm sure he could play some first. So if he continues to hit, maybe you see him.
And is that a slide Rojas over to short situation, you think? Can you double up on the two righties at third base? And the way the 40-man set up, now that Rivas is on the 40-man, I assume when he goes down, he's getting DFA'd. I don't think they would option him back down to AAA. They'd reopen that 40-man spot that Santos cleared up by going on the 60-day, and then you'd put Chavis on the 40-man, and then you'd have Chavis until Santos is ready, essentially on the 40-man.
I'd say it depends on how Rivas plays. If Rivas proves that he's valuable, they won't DFA him. If he's only a stopgap and is here to be a bench guy, then probably, yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. This is going to be an important 4-week stretch. Let's say 4 weeks. It's going to be 4 weeks. We'll do the safe guess that it's going to be 4 weeks between the next time we see JP Crawford on the field. Probably best case, but we'll throw that number there.
Yeah.
It is very important these next 4 weeks that they don't let the offense sort of crater without his bat in there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And look, timetable could be different. There's different timetables out there depending on where you look up recovery time of a grade 1 oblique strain. MLB.com says about 27 days. There's some other sites that say 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously 2 weeks would be best case scenario, but feels unlikely. So yeah, like TJ said, 4 weeks feels about right. And let's hope by then the Mariners are still holding serve with their offense, because they're going to need to.
Yeah.
Before we transition into our second storyline, let's talk to you guys about our friends over at Pagacci's Pub 85. That's over in Kirkland. We keep talking about. Get out there. Watch a game this year. It's fun. It's an awesome time to go spend with your friends. It's an awesome venue, awesome environment. Go hang out. Go watch the Mariners games. Go have a great meal and get some great drink specials too. If you get there on Monday through Friday during happy hour, that's from 2 to 6 p.m., you get some great specials. It's $3 domestic beers, $4 Manny's Blue Moons, $4 Mac and Jacks, $4 Wells, and $4 house wines, all over at Pagacci's Pub 85 in Kirkland. So our second storyline, much more positive. Pitching staff. We talked about the first couple turns through the rotation. Very, very uninspiring. Last 2 weeks, it's been the best in baseball. The Mariners rotation is back to being the Mariners rotation.
At the end of the Brewers series, do you remember what their ERA was?
I do, because we both do prep for this show, Teach. So they were, so we may have slightly different notes that we wrote out. The Mariners starters ERA through the first 2 weeks of the season was 28th in baseball. It was at about 5.8. Now, through the last 2 weeks, it is first in baseball at 151.
Yeah, pretty good. It's pretty good. Just remarkable the heel turn it's done. And there were a smattering of good performances through the first 2 turns through, but that's it. Because especially that second turn through, I vividly remember after the Brewers series, like, man, this cannot happen. And it is not stayed. They've turned around and they've been remarkable, and all been remarkable in their different ways. Even with Bryce Miller having his first, pretty bad start in Texas, they have gone 1 through 5, and they've all shown different ways to be successful. Even Emerson Hancock, not originally supposed to be in this rotation, coming up and performing exceptionally well and giving these guys a chance to go. Every single one of these guys could go 6 innings. They could strike guys out. They could limit walks, and they could do everything necessary to help this team win games. And it's not like it's absolutely a fact now that this is the best rotation in baseball. Who else is matching this? Nick, nobody else matches the upside of what this rotation brings. When everyone is pitching their best, as they've shown this season, without even considering Bryan Woo, the Mariners have 4 number ones in their rotation. The conversation ends right there. 4 number ones. Luis Castillo, number 1. George Kirby, number 1. Logan Gilbert, number 1. And the newly minted Bryce Miller. When he's at his best this season with that splitter, he is a number 1.
It's pretty good. Some might argue the Phillies, that rotation's gotten off to a good start, but the upside of it is not what the Mariners' upside is. By the way, they've pitched like this the last 2 weeks, still without either George Kirby or Luis Castillo at their best. We've seen Logan Gilbert be one of the best in baseball. We've seen Bryce Miller, outside of this Ranger start, be one of the best in baseball. Their 2 top dogs in the rotation are not pitching the way yet that we all know they're capable of doing, and we all know they're going to get to. Now, when those 2 guys start to pitch like we know they can pitch, they get even better. And when Bryan Woo steps back on a big league diamond, they get even better. So I say this again. Every time we talk about the rotation, I'm probably going to use this line. Please just get into the playoffs. Get in the field. If it's the last wild card, get the last wild card. But this rotation can take you the entire freaking way. So just find a way to get in, because this is the best rotation in baseball.
So I went through and counted yesterday. Logan Gilbert, I think, is the number 3 pitcher in this Mariners rotation. I went through and looked. How many teams would Logan Gilbert be a number 1 on? I counted. I came up with 19 teams he would be the best pitcher on, the best starter on. It's a pretty remarkable number. There could be some debate in there, but even if we say 16 to 19, how remarkable is that, man? How remarkable it is. And here's another fun experiment. You pull up everyone's Baseball Savant page and you look at all the different qualities they have. And the best thing you can do, we hammer this point home all the time, the best thing you can do is be not average. Be as less, what's the right term? Least average?
Unique. Unaverage? Unique.
Be as unique as possible. And certainly they are. Every single one is unique or really good at something. Emerson Hancock, not walking anybody. Great. Luis Castillo, his breaking ball run value this year, 96th percentile. Logan Gilbert, well, he's actually been just elite at everything. He is 100th percentile in pitching run value. So out of all pitchers, in terms of preventing runs, Logan Gilbert is your guy. George Kirby, fastball run value, 93rd percentile. Bryce Miller, where's Bryce? Did I pass Bryce? Uh-oh. Oh, here's Bryce. He is 96th percentile in pitching run value. Isn't that unbelievable? Like an elite stat from all 5 players in your rotation.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I should say it is believable because we know how good this rotation can be, but when you actually lay it out like that and map it out like that, yes. I don't want to put you on the spot here if you are going to be put on the spot, but you said 19 teams Logan Gilbert would be their number 1. Do you have them written down, or do you have the 11? You don't have them written down.
No.
All right. We're just going to kind of go through a fun exercise anyway of, let's say, the 11 teams where he wouldn't be the ace. So if I'm just going down by divisions, I'm guessing you still had Framber Valdez over him in Houston or Verlander, like one of those guys.
Yeah, I believe I had him on Houston.
Yeah.
Hold on. If you give me as you rattle off teams, I'll pull up the standings.
Yeah. So I'd say Framber's probably 1 in Houston. Shane Bieber's injured in Cleveland right now, but maybe that factored into your equation of since he is injured, he doesn't
I honestly
count.
Can't remember. I think I might have given Bieber the nod.
Okay.
I would have given him hey, let's pretend he's healthy. I'd give him the nod. He is a Cy Young.
Yeah. So Bieber, Garrett Cole.
Yep.
Gausman.
I didn't put him over Gausman. I did not put him over Burns. I put him as the number 1 on the Rays and the Red Sox.
Yeah. And then if you go over to the NL, I mean, Yamamoto or Glasnow, I'm guessing still gets the edge there.
Yeah.
Did you give Logan the edge over that Giants rotation? Obviously Blake Snell has 2
I did
Cy
not
Young.
put him over Webb. I did not put him over Logan Webb. Logan Webb's been pretty good.
Yeah. So Logan Webb. Yeah. I was going to say Blake Snell with the 2
Logan
Cy
Webb
Young.
or Snell, but yeah. He was not the number 1 on the Giants.
Right. Is he the number one on the D-backs over Zach Gallen or
No.
Merrill Kelly? Okay, no. So you have Gallen over Logan Gilbert there.
He would be on the Padres.
Yes.
And he would be on the Rockies.
I will say Dylan Cease has gotten off to a good start. Very good start. But we can take Logan. That's right. That's fine. Okay, NL Central. This is actually just kind of a fun exercise to run through. He would be better than most of the Central, I would say.
He would. Him and Freddie. I can't remember if I picked him over Freddie Peralta. It's close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Freddie's pretty good. I put him as the number one on the Cubs. I put him as the number one on the Reds and the Pirates, maybe until Skeens comes up, and then the Cardinals.
Yeah, and then you go NL East. That Phillies rotation's really good, so Logan's probably not over Zach Wheeler, but Marlins,
Braves,
Nationals,
no, because I'm pretending Strider's still healthy, but the other three, he's the number one.
Mets, Marlins, and Nationals. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Logan Gilbert's a number one on a lot of teams right now. Like, look at this. Logan Gilbert is first in the American League in batting average against. Opponents are hitting 161 against him. He's fourth in baseball in WHIP. This guy is 100% in the Cy Young conversation right now. It's about a month into the year. There's a long ways to go. But he is absolutely in the Cy Young conversation right now. And there's a lot of guys in the American League that have gotten off to really good starts, like Cutter Crawford, for example, off to an awesome start. But Logan Gilbert's very much in the running right now.
You know why this is so important? Because the Mariners sneakily already have a gauntlet of teams they're right in the midst of. So the Mariners just finished a 3-game series with the Rangers, who are the number 12 team in WRC Plus this season, and the Mariners took 2 of 3. That's great. However, so the Mariners already this season had faced 4 top 10 offenses by WRC Plus. They split with the Guardians, and then they lost series to the Cubs, Blue Jays, and Brewers. So that's a negative right there. However, they have a chance to make up with it because they now, starting tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks, have 3 more in a row that are in the top 10, the Diamondbacks, the Braves, and the Houston Astros. The Astros have been kind of garbage this year, but they still are mash the baseball. So it's a big week and a half.
I'm surprised the Diamondbacks are a top 10 offense. I mean, numbers never lie, but I'm surprised they are. Because, yeah.
You see Corbin's been swinging like a cardboard tube since last June.
So I don't want to say anything too negative because, spoiler alert, we're trying to talk to him and do some content with him this weekend. Like, so little spoiler alert. One thing that TJ and I have wanted to implement this year into some of our social content is, along with all the player content we do with the Mariners, we thought it would be fun to get some of the Pacific Northwest guys that grew up in the area that are on other teams, and when they come into town, do some Mariners content with them. So who would be first on that list this year? Well, the Diamondbacks are in town. Corbin Carroll. So I don't want to just rip the guy. And we know, look, when he's at his best, he's one of the best players in this entire sport, but he is off to a really tough start to begin the year. And like you said, he's had a tough go of it since about the second half of last year. And I think there's a correlation. I think that shoulder he kind of messed up before the All-Star break has something to do with it, because it doesn't make any sense as somebody as good as Corbin Carroll with such a steady profile would be swinging it like this.
Yeah, he's slugging like under 370 since that moment.
Right.
For him, that shouldn't be it. We know he has really good power. It just it's kind of unfathomable. People know him for his speed, but that dude mashes the baseball. So for his sake, hope he turns it around after this weekend.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
He can go 1 for 12 or whatever this weekend, and then once they get back to playing National League teams or when they play American League teams and interleague play for the Mariners' sake too, yeah, just go back to going off, Corbin.
But this is an important stretch. I mean, the Mariners again have notched their first win of this first series win against a top 12 offense thanks to their pitching staff. Can they keep it up? Time will tell, because the early parts of the season has showed when they faced the better offenses, they've come up on the short end of the stick.
Right. And it'll be a test. Now, one break the Mariners catch this weekend against the Diamondbacks is they're not going to face Merrill Kelly, because unfortunately for him, he just hit the injured list. He was scheduled, if the rotation had stayed the same in Arizona, to pitch against the Mariners this weekend. So the Mariners would have gotten Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. Now they're just going to get Gallen on Friday, and then they have a chance Saturday and Sunday to really take that series. Friday's matchup certainly does not favor them. The next two should. with Kirby going, and then it would be Logan Gilbert going. So you would, the offense is going to have to hit, but that Saturday, Sunday is the Mariners' real target window for taking that series.
What a next 6 days at T-Mobile Park. Quite a lot of returns coming in the next 6 days.
I think we're going to have some to talk about on Wednesday's show. I think there's one in particular we're really going to have to talk about on Wednesday's show. No, I'm not talking about Gino. No, I'm not talking about if Paul Sewald ends up making the trip this weekend. It doesn't sound like he will, because he's doing some rehab outings right now, but we'll see. If he does, that'd be great, because he deserves an ovation. No, I'm talking about one certain guy during the weekday series.
He's got good initials.
He does have good initials. He does have very good initials. It rhymes, or it simulates with just kidding.
It is, just to go along with the latest trend, it's between H and L.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right, we can spend like 90 seconds on this, and then I'm sure we'll talk about it more Sunday on the live stream, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, we do live streams every Sunday now on YouTube and Instagram, so make sure to come hang out with us then, and I'm sure we'll dive into it much more on Wednesday's show, but not like 90 seconds here, because we're not going to record an actual podcast until close to the end of that Brave series. Is Jared Kelenic getting booed?
I think so.
That's going to break. I mean, it's going to break my heart, because everybody who listens to this podcast knows I will always be a Jared Kelenic fan. But unfortunately, I know it's not reasonable. But unfortunately, with fan brain, I think because how he left the org, like, the social post thanked everybody except the organization. And then he had some stuff to say on Foul Territory, and he had some stuff to say at FanFest about Truist Park. Oh, it's better than Seattle. People have seen that stuff make its rounds. So how he will be received, I think it has something to do with how many people are in the ballpark that night. Will the Braves draw a big crowd? It's possible. It's an attractive team to come see. If there's a real crowd in the ballpark that night, it's possible. But if it's like 12, if it's 15 to 20,000 people, it might not be that noticeable. We'll see.
And you have the prospect flame out factor, and the fact, and when he broke his foot right in the middle of the summer, there are a lot of people out there, which if you feel this way, then you're more than entitled to your opinion, that feel like the reason the Mariners turned it around in August last year is because Jared Kelenic was not playing. Yeah. Period. If that's what you truly believe, then you are more than happy to see Jared gone in the off season, because you'd hope the correlation would continue.
Yeah, I don't think I believe that, but there are people out there that believe that. So,
right. Yeah. So it stinks. I hope he doesn't get booed. I don't think he deserves to get booed, but he probably will. I think there will be at least 30%, if not more, that will do it.
Yeah. By the time we record our next true podcast, it'll come out on the morning before the finale of the series. Likely he will have played before then, because the Mariners rotation is all right-handed pitchers. So we'll probably have an answer on how it goes.
Yeah. So we'll be interested if he comes back and hits like 4 homers. Yeah. What we're leading off Wednesday's show with.
Oh yeah.
Before we get to go down on the farm and pick out our standout Mariners minor leaguer, let's hear a word from Game Time. The best memories for Lyle and I happen a lot at the ballpark, and there's no better time to get to the ballpark than during these amazing upcoming summer months. I can't wait for summer. I know you can't wait for summer. There's so many new memories to be made. When you're thinking about how you're going to get your tickets to the park this summer, you should use the Game Time app. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. When you're looking for Mariners versus Diamondbacks tickets this weekend, use the Game Time app. Checking it out here on the app, looks like you can find tickets to all 3 games this weekend for under $35 each. You can save even more money with zone deals, where you choose the section and Game Time chooses the seat. Shop smarter with the all-in pricing feature, so you don't have any surprise fees at checkout. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code JUSTBASEBALL, JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Let's go down on the farm. Who is your standout Mariners minor leaguer this week?
somebody off the list of a list we like to categorize as our guys, Logan Evans. He has made 4 starts in Double-A after barely appearing in affiliated ball last year. He gets the call up to Double-A because they loved what he did in the offseason. They loved what he did in spring training, an aggressive push-up and call-up. But he has been tested, and he has thrived so far. Through 4 starts, Logan Evans has a 1.86 earned run average. He has been dominant. The walks can come down a little bit, but guess what? In his last start, which was a career outing for him, they did. 5 shutout, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. It's 4 starts, and we'll see how he keeps progressing as the year rolls on. Man, he looks flat out dominant so far in Double-A.
This is just unbelievable. Like, it truly is unbelievable how he can continue to set the bar higher and higher, higher and higher. Again, with just no experience. Like, the guys who come into the minor leagues and dominate right away usually are picked in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Evans was drafted in the 12th round. But he's come into the minors so far, and he's dominated. Overpowering stuff, complete repertoire. And once he dials in the command and control, I mean, who is saying he's not ready for the big leagues? It might be August or September. But if, like, they truly need him and he's rolling out a 2.2 ERA and his walk rate is down and his strikeout rate is among the best among starters in Double-A, who's to say? Like, there would be no other reason to not give him a shot.
The best orgs in baseball find value picks in drafts. Tony Gonsolin was a 9th rounder out of St. Mary's. Now, he's had some injuries the last year or two, but when he's at his best, that guy's been at the top of the rotation for the Dodgers. He has had some awesome years in LA. Guys like that, right? Logan Evans may be their Tony Gonsolin. He may be the guy they got late. They saw the value in him. They identified him, similar to what the Mariners did with Bryce Miller and Brian Wu. Those guys were not high draft picks either. And they've turned out to be really damn good. It's not the case right now, but like you just said, as the year rolls on, I think Logan Evans may jump up that list in terms of priority guys that would be making a start for the Seattle Mariners if they are called upon. Emerson Hancock will be the 6th guy. Levi Stout's still there. There's some veterans still in Tacoma. But I think as the year rolls on, you're going to see Logan Evans roll up that list. And honestly, you may see Reed Van Scooter run up that list too, because he's had a good start.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be really hard to tell either of those guys no if they keep performing in Double-A. Both those, man, what a top 2 down there in Arkansas. Yeah. So
and both our guys. So we love to
both
see
our guys, right? Oh yeah, it helps. I mean, we'll take half credit. We'll take half credit. They're the ones out there throwing the pitches. So
yeah,
a couple of our guys down there in Arkansas. The guy I had this week, the Everett Aqua Sox roster really hasn't gotten a whole lot of love. When the rosters came out, people were like, for the most part. All the top prospects are in Modesto and Arkansas. But shout out to Ben Williamson, the Mariners' 2nd-round pick of last year. He's come out of the gates for 17 games, a slash line of 347, 392, 542. He's got 1 long ball, walked 5 times, struck out 11. He's like a hit over power guy. That's what he was categorized as he was drafted, with a good glove. And he's come into Arkansas this year, or come into Everett this year, and he's really hit. He played at a small school, William and Mary, but he's come to pro ball and he's gotten off to a really hot start this year. And just to remember, him as an infielder, he's ahead all of the guys down there in Modesto. He's got a leg up on him because he's older. He's a college guy. And behind Cole Young, in terms of high draft picks in the higher minors, it's Cole and then him.
Mm-hmm. And he may move faster than some of the younger guys in Modesto because he's a college guy. Ben Williamson keeps hitting like this for half the year in Everett. You may see him up in Arkansas during the summer. And if he gets up to Arkansas during the summer, we'll see what he does there. So you're right. Obviously, those guys in Modesto, Cole Young, Johnny Parmello, Ty Pete, Laz, Michael Arroyo, all those guys, like we know what their ceiling is. But because they're so young, they may move a little bit slower, with the exception of a healthy Colt Emerson. So yeah, Ben Williamson may make his way through the system if he keeps hitting.
So yeah, I mean, it's good to see. I don't know how much power he'll truly keep up. The way he's profiled sounds like he'd be like a sub 500 slugging guy, but to see what he's done so far this season, it's been really great to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love to see it. There's a segment I know we're itching to get to, so let's get to it. Our Russell Wilson Umpire of the Week. My goodness, do we have a banger this week for this week's winner?
Is this an all-timer? This has
Yes.
to be maybe the best one we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
In case you're living under a rock this week, Hunter Wendelstedt made quite a name for himself in a Yankees-A's game this week. There is an umpire now in Major League Baseball who has ejected a manager for something a fan said. So let's replay the scenario. It is the first inning of this baseball game. Yankees-A's. I forget who's at the plate. I think it's Esteury Ruiz. Check swings. They miss. I think they missed a check swing down the first. Ball hits him in the foot. A slider from Carlos Rodon hits Ruiz in the foot. He went around halfway on a swing. The first base umpire ruled that he did not swing. And Aaron Boone was kind of pissed because he's like, well, that should be a strike, not a hit by pitch. Ruiz takes first base. Aaron Boone has a couple of things to say to Hunter Wendelstedt, who's behind the plate. Wendelstedt then says, one more word and you're out of here. I'm done hearing it from you. Already, first inning. And jokingly, Ryan Ruocco on the Yes broadcast was like, oh, we don't need a John Boy breakdown of that one because we could hear exactly what Hunter Wendelstedt said. So then Boone returns to the dugout and he's sitting there on the step, and the guy literally right above the dugout, above Aaron Boone, shouts something at Wendelstedt, and Wendelstedt tosses Boone from the game, who throws his hands up and is like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. What?
So
This is bullshit.
So
This is bullshit. So he essentially goes out there and he's giving him a piece of his mind and yada, yada, yada. The John Boy breakdown on this is fantastic.
Yeah.
It goes into great detail. What do you got to say?
let me take a quick pause before you
Sure.
keep going on here. TJ says the guy above the dugout. So what he's referring to, a fan yelled something. It was a fan,
Yeah.
not somebody in the dugout, not somebody involved with the organization. After Aaron Boone was told another word and you're out of here, Aaron Boone goes back to the dugout. He's saying absolutely nothing, like just standing there, blank face, watching the game. A fan yells something that the umpire didn't like and ejects Aaron Boone for the fan yelling something.
Here's my favorite exchange of the whole thing. So Wendelstedt, so Aaron was out there saying, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Wendelstedt then eventually says, Aaron, you're probably right. And then Aaron responds, no, I'm not probably right. I am fucking right. And obviously they didn't overturn the ejection. And then after the game, Wendelstedt, instead of admitting he made a mistake, because they are more than welcome to admit they messed up and they will do better next time. But Wendelstedt instead made the claim that, quote, I have never ejected a manager for something a fan has said, and said that it came from the area of the dugout. Therefore, Aaron had to go.
It's funny you say that, Hunter. And there's a breakdown on Twitter showing that you're wrong. There is proof of evidence that you're lying. Unreal.
Like, this is literally abuse of power at its finest. Just because I can do it, I will. Doesn't mean I need a reason to do it at all.
Like, Max Scherzer made a rehab start down in Round Rock, AAA for the Rangers just the other day. And he was asked about the umpiring system and the automated strike zone because he was pitching, or I forget how it works on rehab starts. I think on rehab starts, guys pitch with actual umpires calling balls and strikes if you're a major leaguer. And then once the minor leaguers go back to pitching, it goes back to the automated strike zone, I believe. But he was still asked about the automated strike zone because he was there in person to witness it. And he starts talking about, look, most umpires are really good at their jobs. The problem is the bottom 10% that have become infamous in the baseball world for being awful at their jobs. And Scherzer says, why is there not a relegation system? Because umpires need to be held accountable. When players don't play well, they get demoted for not doing their jobs. Umpires need to be held to the same standard. You know what, Max Scherzer? You are 150% correct. Why is there no relegation system? Yes, the stupid umpires union, I'm pretty sure, bans it. Why is there an umpires union that was agreed upon to begin with? I don't know. But instead, we have people like Wendelstedt abusing their power and doing ridiculous things like this.
Well, the union could hold their umpires accountable to give them a better name, but obviously that they don't care about that. They don't care about making a good name for themselves.
No. It's unreal.
Once the incentive to actually perform well is gone, then stuff like this happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the incentive for players to play well, they get paid a lot of money and they stay in the big leagues. If they don't play well, they're gone. Which is why you see Anthony Rendon situations. His incentive to play well is gone, so he just doesn't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We can tell these umpires would be lying to me if they told me how much they cared about this. I'm dead serious. I'm like, sure, I'm making an accusation, but like the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
If you cared, it would be better.
Correct.
There are people doing their job well, and you are not.
Like, it's funny, for as much as we trash on umpires on this segment and on this podcast, there are very good umpires out there. The one I always come back to, just because I know who he is, and I guess I've seen him some Mariners games where he's really good, is Pat Hoberg, who might be the best one in baseball, and he very rarely misses a ball in strike call. Like, his strike zone is almost spot on. There are good ones out there like that. But it's kind of like being an offensive lineman in baseball. Or in baseball. An offensive lineman in football. When you have a good game as an offensive lineman, it means your name was not mentioned at all on the broadcast. Your name isn't getting brought up. It means you're not getting beat for sacks. You're not getting flagged for penalties. You're doing your job, and you're probably doing it well. That's like umpires, too. When you're like that, it's pretty much a thankless position. You're not going to get a bunch of love and showered with flowers and all that stuff. No, it's the guys like Angel Hernandez and CB Buckner and now Hunter Wendelstedt who are in the limelight for all the wrong reasons.
Shouldn't be this way. Does not have to be this way. Nothing ever has to be the way it is.
Mm-mm.
There are always ways to change it. But there are people who have decided this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we keep having this segment. Because if they were actually held accountable, we wouldn't need to have this segment, Lyle.
No.
There would be accountability, so we don't have to hold them accountable.
Correct. Unfortunately, since there's none from the umpires union and players get in trouble if they talk about it, we can say whatever we want, and we will continue to do so.
Yes, we will. Let's get to Speak Your Mind. Okay, Lyle, what is on your mind here on this lovely Thursday?
So I realized I never brought this up. I'm probably way overdue to bring it up. I guess I realized I never did a segment of Speak Your Mind that I brought up coming back from New York and actually being back in Seattle, which people have probably caught on to by now because I've been back out at the ballpark a lot and we've been doing a bunch of stuff out at T-Mobile. But just to, I guess, generalize it, figured if in case anybody's interested in the update, that yeah, it was fun. That like the 2 months or the 2.5 months I spent out there, whatever it was really good. I got everything I wanted to get out of it, connected with everybody I wanted to connect with. Does something come of it in the long run? Hopefully, you know, whether it involves being back in New York or just staying here in Seattle and hopefully with a lot of things to do with this podcast and keeping going and all that. Like, I don't exactly know what definitively like the next thing is, but I got everything I wanted to get out of it. So I just figured, like, been a while since I brought it up. Don't think I ever like closed that chapter once I actually came back, because I think we got busy with going to spring training and I think there was a couple other Speak Your Mind segments that we were very like definitive about bringing up between then. So yeah, I just figured I'd kind of close that circle and say, yeah, it was fun for people that were interested in it, because we did have some people with the podcast like DM me or ask me like, how are you liking it? Like, have you enjoyed it? Like obviously appreciate it. And yeah, overall it was really fun.
Now, I'm sure all the job stuff was great and really important and all, but what was the best thing you ate?
Yeah, so you held me accountable to this, which I appreciate, because TJ's a foodie. If he didn't kind of push me about it a little bit, I probably wouldn't have tried as much food as I tried in New York City. Best thing. So I wrote down a top 5, and I'll throw pizza out of it because, as we've talked about on this podcast, like Joe's Pizza is our spot, like when the two of us are in New York, because it's such good pizza. But there's a couple other pizza spots, like Prince Street Pizza is a popular place. I tried that. I would say the best thing I had was either 7th Street Burger, which is very popular, or this restaurant called Tanner Smith's. I think it's in Midtown, and so it's on this account Devour Power that TJ's followed for a long time, got me to start following it. It's basically this account that follows all these, or goes and tries all this different New York City food. And this place had these like crazy smash burgers, and then I think what sold me on going was there was this crazy s'mores dessert where it's basically you get graham crackers and it's like toasted chocolate chips and marshmallows that are put in a skillet and put in the grill, and it comes out and you dip graham crackers in it, because then it's all like, you know, melted chocolate and marshmallows. It was so good.
Yeah.
I would say, Tanner Smith's restaurant, between like the smash burger I tried there, it was really big, and then this dessert was my favorite thing.
And to think of all the places you tried and you like maybe got through not even 1%. So
Yeah,
a lot more left to go. So that's why you got to keep growing the list. So I'm glad you tried all those places. I know we have a lot more places to go try whenever we get back there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad all the job stuff. It's certainly not easy to go to spend a significant chunk of time somewhere that you haven't lived before, just for the sake of networking to see what you can accomplish. It's not something everyone can do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And it's from everything I've heard from you both, from what you just said and what we've talked about, it was worth it. Yeah. So that's really all that matters. Even if the end result is not what you want, like the process was good. So if the process is good, then that's all that you can control.
And there's more people we know now from it. Like there's people I wanted to connect with in New York, kept the relationships, and now like people that are in sports media and have some very, very good insight and knowledge on like the sports media, podcast, social content landscape. And you and I both have talked to them now, and they've given us some good advice about like things to keep doing with this podcast. So at the very least, it's helped with things like that. So 100%.
Yeah, certainly. And very fun place to spend some time. Certainly.
That too.
So, and I miss the food, man. I miss the food.
I know you do.
Where would I go first? First of all, you mentioned Devour Power. Shout out Greg and Rebecca. They do an amazing job all the time. Always positive. Man, I don't even know where I'd go first. I'll probably have to circle back and find a place. I'll
give them credit for that. There's accounts out there that rate food and it's out of 10, and it can be people with big followings a lot of the time. And if some restaurant gets a bad score just because that specific person doesn't like it, it could still turn away a lot of people because they have a following. But what they do with Devour Power, they don't give it rankings. They just show, look at how good all this food is. Yeah. It's all positive. So that part's cool.
I've heard them talk about it. It is purposely their philosophy. They're not there to judge anybody. They're just there to eat. Just there, as they say, to devour. Mm-hmm. So it's good. And they do a good job of showcasing all these places. And I probably wouldn't have found half these places without seeing that. I do the one place that is definitely on my itinerary where my brother, who lives in Manhattan, says I'm going as soon as I get there, is Carbone. So I got to start saving for that. You know what Carbone is, I assume?
Yeah.
It's very expensive, but they're supposed to have pretty unbelievable food. So
I'd love to eat there one day. It's just, again, choosing to shell out the money for it or not.
Yeah.
That's the whole
thing.
And
getting a reservation is hard too. And it's celebrities eat there. So we'll see. You can go to the one in Vegas too, but it's not the same experience. I'd like to go to the one, where it is, but more Italian food. That would be nice. Not enough great Italian food, especially here in Oregon. It's a little lacking, unfortunately. I'm trying to think of what else I would eat. Probably mostly be pizza related, but you never know. I literally eat anything. So.
Do they have Dave's Hot Chicken in Seattle? I don't know if they do.
It's a chain.
Well,
in Seattle, they're probably. Actually, you know what? That's a good question.
I hadn't had it till I was in New York City because I think it was your brother that recommended it. That was really
because he lives on the same block as one.
Yeah, it was good.
Let's see. I think there's one near me. There's a bunch in Portland. There's one in Eugene. There's one in Salem.
Oh.
There's one in Everett.
Oh, so there is a chain. Well, there you go. Get to an Aqua Sox game and try Dave's Hot Chicken.
Yeah, but that's a chain. It's like saying go to the Raising Cane's. Like you and I have eaten I love Cane's. Wow, we're here in New York. Do you want to go to the Cane's in Times Square?
All right, fair.
Probably.
I'd never had it. I had it once, Dave's Hot Chicken, because your brother recommended it. So
right, it is good. But it is a chain, so you could have it pretty much anywhere. So
it's fair.
It's like someone telling me when I get here, go to Dutch Bros. It's like, yeah, I know, I've been there quite a lot.
All right.
There's a lot of locations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the unique locations. Those are better.
Yeah.
I got a few things on my Speak Your Mind this week. First of all, NFL draft is tonight. Prediction for the Seahawks.
I'd love to say Troy Fautanu. They need offensive line help, but I don't know if they even pick at 16. They may just trade out of the first round.
Yeah, they may just trade back. I will say, and you can hold us accountable for this, if they draft Cooper DeJean tonight, there's going to be a problem. Next Speak Your Mind next week, we might have some more things to say. They just don't need any more corners. They don't need more corners. They like hire a coach whose bread and butter is line play, and they go out and they draft a corner again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, agreed.
What do we think? Oh, did you have one more thing to add?
No, obviously I'm excited to watch the draft. That's part of the reason we're recording a little bit early today. That paired with the Mariners game being early worked out is TJ and I want to watch the draft. But by the time you're all listening to this, you'll know who they picked, or maybe you won't because they'll trade it out of the first round.
Now, here's a yes or no. Do they pick a quarterback tonight?
That would mean with their one pick.
Well, they could probably trade back and get, I don't know, Bo Nix.
Oh, please, no.
I know you don't want Bo Nix, but they could, like, theoretically, if they traded back in the late 20s, I think he'd be there.
Yeah. If they were going to trade for anybody or trade up for anybody, like trade back into the first round, I feel like it would be for Michael Penix. Like, Seattle guy, Ryan Grubb's now the OC for the Seahawks, who was obviously UW's OC with Michael Penix. That one feels like it would be the match made in heaven and the most sense in terms of if they were going to go get a quarterback. Thing is, Michael Penix actually might not be there. We know there's going to be a run on quarterbacks early. The question is where guys like J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix go. Now, McCarthy may go in the top 5 after those first 3, the big 3, Williams, Daniels, May. But like where Penix goes is kind of a question. I've seen the Raiders at 13 in a lot of mock drafts. I've seen them falling a lot farther in a lot of mock drafts. So we'll see.
Here's one more amazing thing that's, I guess, not as much Seahawks related, but can you? It's going to be amazing. So again, by the time you guys listen to this, you'll know where he gets picked. But the fact, like, you and I watched Jaden Daniels as a freshman quarterback at ASU. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to go 2nd overall today.
Mm-hmm.
Just never. He was a highly touted dude. I never would have thought. He was skinny. He was like, I just couldn't like really tell. He didn't have the step onto campus NFL factor when we saw him in 2019.
No.
And pretty incredible how far he's come.
He was a pretty big recruit, but again, very, very small. Not height wise, but he was scrawny. So it felt like one of those guys that might have a good college career, would stick around at ASU. He didn't, but
for good reason.
Yeah. But ASU was a dumpster fire of a university in terms of athletics. We can get into that in another Speak Your Mind. Like yeah. they're gonna be terrible for like a decade, and I'll leave it at that. We can leave it. Yeah, we can get into that in another Speak Your Mind. But anyway, Jaden Daniels felt like he would have a solid college career, maybe get drafted late, latch on for somewhere for a short amount of time. No, he's about to be somebody's franchise quarterback, likely the Commanders. It's crazy. So TJ was broadcasting ASU Oregon, that football game, our senior year, on our student radio station. He was on the play-by-play for this game. And TJ called Jaden Daniels' absolute moonball dart of a throw to Brandon Ayuk for like an 80-yard touchdown to seal the win, get a huge upset win in Tempe and Oregon's playoff chances. And that was a sick play at the time. Like that is the play I remember most from our time at ASU. But it's funny seeing that now looking back on it, because at the time it just felt like two guys who were pretty good for ASU. Now that's, going to be a top 2 pick that threw the ball. And the guy that caught the ball was a first-round wide receiver who also has now basically become a top 20 receiver in the game. Pretty nuts.
With, So Rashad White was not on that team, so couldn't say another starting running back. But still, like,
Eno Benjamin was the running back.
Yeah, and Brandon Ayuk the year before had turned it from like he was kind of like an unheralded JUCO recruit into that, which was that like pretty bonkers to think about. And that was 5 years ago or 4.5 years ago.
Yeah,
that's jeez, man. That was one of the most. I've had a lot of fun moments covering sports. That was certainly up there. That was unbelievable. On that play. I didn't mess it up too. I was, you never want to mess up a play that big, and I thought I did a good job on that one. So that was good. It's crazy how time flies. And remember Jaden that game? He was like what 28 of 34 for 4 something. It was an unbelievable performance against like Thibodeau was on that defense. He beat Ayuk beat Diamador Lenore on the outside. He's in the NFL as well. Who else is in the NFL on that defense?
Well, on the defense, we can pick it apart, but he had to go up and beat Justin Herbert, which he did.
Well, Justin Herbert was pretty bad that game.
Yeah, he was.
That was the Oregon staff that did him that. Essentially, I don't know how they managed to make him look so bad,
given
how he's looked in the NFL.
Right. Correct. But yeah, crazy. Is that what was on your Speak Your Mind? Basically those couple of things?
Pretty much. I had one more thing, not sports related. I don't know if you had anything else on this.
I guess that's about it. But just, yeah, it's crazy to think that ASU team had so many talented guys and shockingly, like
8-5
fell under the expectations.
Yeah, 8-5, and then less than a year later had gotten popped for recruiting violations. So recruiting violations and all the stuff came out this week. And shocker, after saying that Herm Edwards had nothing to do with anything, he got the longest penalty of all of them outside of Antonio Pierce. Funny.
Again,
Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce, by the way.
Yeah, where Jaden Daniels said if he could pick, that's where he wants to be, is with Antonio Pierce in Vegas. Anyway, we can get it, like, if people are actually interested to hear this stuff, like, we can get into ASU stuff in another Speak Your Mind and just talk about how atrocious they're going to be for maybe the rest of our lifetimes. But yeah, anyway, I'll let you move on to your last thing.
Last thing, this will be quick. Did you know you can play like Nintendo DS games on your phone now? Have you seen that?
No.
I can play Pokemon Platinum on my iPhone now.
Huh.
They like recently, as of like the last couple of weeks, let down the rules when it comes to emulator games. So you can now, I have Pokemon Platinum on my iPhone. Like I played that as like an elementary school kid and I loved it. I haven't played it since because, well, I don't have a DS, but I can just have it on my phone now. And you can play, like, there's hundreds of games that are all free that you can download onto your phone and play.
Yeah. That's
pretty cool.
I never was, I think I played more Game Boy than DS growing up, but still very cool.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It's bringing back some memories.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now people can rekindle little memories playing games on the iPhone. Like that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the last thing before we totally wrap this show up is just to summarize and conclude with the players coming back to Seattle this weekend. I know we talked about Jared, but I think it's safe to say Gino will absolutely get an ovation. Seawald, if he's there, will absolutely get an ovation. Kelnick may get booed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
he will.
That's probably fair. If the three guys returning, that's likely how it goes. We can reconvene on Wednesday. So yeah. Well, we hope everybody enjoys the NFL draft. We hope everybody enjoys the weekend of baseball. Mariners are playing really well, so everybody has a lot to be excited about, as are the two of us. And let's hope they keep it rolling, because they certainly can, and they really need to without JP Crawford. I think that'll just about wrap up this edition of the Marine Layer podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Make sure to download, leave us that 5-star review, leave a written review. It doesn't take that long, and you guys know you're helping us out by doing it, so why not, right? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe over on YouTube, and then follow us on social media, where we're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube Shorts at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.